Hello, Oracles. In this video, I want to share with you guys the 8 steps, the Oracle 8 steps that I took to get myself to financial freedom. A lot of these steps are based off of Dave Ramsey's baby steps, and I modified them to myself because his steps, while they are awesome and they've obviously created a lot of success for a lot of people when it comes to financial freedom, a lot of them need to be tweaked a little bit for everybody's individual situation. And some of these 8 steps that I share with you guys might also need to be tweaked for your specific situation. But these are what I used for my own. And some of the ones that I'm going to share today are just a modified version of what I actually used in the past to get myself financially free. And I'm going to be utilizing those steps now as I'm bringing on more debt when it comes to my real estate and other investments that I have to get myself out of that debt. Now, it's good, healthy debt this time around versus the credit card debt that I had before, but this is the new 8 steps that I'm using to get myself out of that. And it really is a way to help you guys get yourself out of debt and have your money work for you. So the first step is track all income and expenses. Now, bottom line is at the end of the day, if you don't have a plan, you're probably not going to succeed. Some people will, they just kind of fall into it and it is what it is, but most people are not going to succeed unless they have a plan. Same holds true for your health and your wealth. When it comes to health, you want to make sure that you have a meal plan that is all set for you and you're going to be working out and you have a scheduled habit that you have created for yourself that is going to be getting you to your successful goals. Same with your wealth. You want to make sure that you have a plan in place. What are you going to be doing with your money? What money do you have coming in? Do you need to have more money coming in to offset the expenses that you have created for yourself? What debt do you have? What are you going to do to pay that debt off? What plan do you have in place for that? It seems pretty daunting, but that's why I created a tracker, and it's something I want to share with all of you. And you guys who are going to be working with me free are going to have that opportunity to take that tracker. And it's something I'm just going to give to you guys to try and use on your own. It's just a way to track what you have for income coming in, what you have for expenses, and this way you can see visually, all right, where am I at? Do I need to have more income? Do I need to cut expenses? Whatever it is, it's easier to be able to make those decisions when you can actually see what is going on with your finances. Until you actually see what is going on and accept, hey, this is the actual situation that I'm in. Until you can accept that, you're going to struggle along with your debt and you're never going to be able to get out of it unless you just fall into some luck somewhere. And that is not a good strategy. So just take a step back and understand, hey, it might sting and it might hurt. And I might be like, oh man, this is a lot worse than I thought it was. But you need to see it first. So come up with a plan and start tracking all of that information. Then we can come up with a plan that can actually get you out of that and put you in a much better situation. Next up is setting up vaults. And now the vaults come from SoFi. Now this can be done in multiple different places. And this is one of those steps that I did not use before because it didn't exist before. But I wish I did exist before because I kind of did it just mentally. Now I can actually do this. What the vaults are is when I have my money goes into my savings account, it gets distributed for all of my bills. So whether it's going to be debts, whether it's my mortgage, whether it's going to be maybe I want to save for travel, it's for college for Benjamin, all these different things that I have, my money comes in and automatically gets distributed into those vaults. That comes out of the visible savings account that I have. So I can't see it unless I physically go down into those vaults to see, oh, I do have this money. But then I have to take the next step and take the money out of those vaults if I want to use it for something else. It just makes it harder for me to spend that money on places that I shouldn't be spending it because I don't actually have it because it's in those vaults and it's getting put aside specifically to pay off whatever it is. So if you have credit card debts and say, hey, I'm going to be paying a minimum of $200 on this one, $400 on this one, when that money comes in, you have it distributed every single paycheck. I get paid weekly, so I divide mine by 4. If you get paid bi-weekly, you divide it by 2. Whatever it is, you do the math on it to figure out how much of each paycheck needs to come out to go into those specific vaults. Then when it comes to those vaults is a lot of your companies that you're going to be paying off will do an automatic withdrawal. You can have it automatically withdrawn out of that savings account. So on the day before the bill is due, I have the money come out of the vault and go into my savings. And then the next day it comes out of my savings and pays the bill. It's out of sight, out of mind. This way I don't see it. I can't spend it where I shouldn't be spending it. I'm not going to be overdrawing on any accounts. I'm not going to be having any issues where like, oh my gosh, I can't pay my mortgage this month and I'm going to get hit with a late fee on it. None of that. It's going to avoid a lot of those situations that could cause you to go further into debt unnecessarily. And so these vaults are huge. And like I said, on top of that, you still want to live life. So maybe you're at a point where, hey, maybe I can put aside a little extra. So I have $25 every single paycheck going into my travel vault. Cool. Now I don't have to feel guilty about taking money out of my savings to go traveling. I have a whole travel vault that's already set up for that. I have one for my stock portfolio. I have one for other future funds that I want as well. And on top of it, if you set up your direct deposit through SoFi, at the time of this recording, you will get 4.2% back on all of that cash. So for instance, my mortgage, $2,000 a month, I'm putting that money in there and I get about $5 back at the end of the month in interest on the money I was putting aside to pay my mortgage. It's a really awesome situation. So when you're looking at things like that to try and get yourself ahead and have your money work for you, this is one of those ways that you can really do that. If you're interested in that, there is a link down in the description of this video to get yourself set up with SoFi, and we both get a little bonus out of it. And again, you'll be able to get yourself that 4.2% back once you set up a direct deposit on it. Third on the list is finding a side hustle. So a side hustle is a huge one for me. I started off by being a Beachbody coach. I got a 1099 from that, and that allowed me to write off a bunch of the different things that I was using on a regular basis off of my taxes. Always check with a CPA or an accountant to make sure that you are going to be doing what is proper for you and legal and everything. Everybody's situation is very different and it has to be specific for you. So make sure you check with them. But these are just questions to ask. And it's one of those things where I can't tell you what you should be doing because I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, but it's one of those things where I can bring up questions and say, hey, is this possible? Can I do this? For instance, with my side hustle when it comes to YouTube, the income that I bring in from this, when I had my apartment in the last place I lived, I had 4 rooms. One of those rooms was my office and studio. So I was able to write off 25% of my rent because that was being utilized for my business for YouTube. So at the end of the year, I was still paying the same amount in rent, but I was able to lower my taxable income by that 25% off of my rent strictly because of the fact that I was utilizing it for the YouTube. So these are the little things. You could be your phone bill, it could be your internet. And again, it's going to be percentages of what you're doing. And you do need to track that to make sure that you're writing off the right amount. Again, this is where it comes down to talking to your CPA about this. But it's little things at the end of the year where you can lower your tax liability and thereby getting either more money back in taxes or for your regular job, maybe lowering the amount that you're paying out in taxes so that you get more money in your pocket on a regular basis when you get paid. And this way, at the end of the year, you're not getting more back in taxes. Because realistically, you want to get paid zero at the end of the year with your taxes because otherwise you're floating the government a free loan. So what you want to make sure that you're doing is just figuring that number out at the end of the year. You get zero back, but that's because you have gotten more back in your pocket every single paycheck to be able to utilize for yourself to have your money work for you rather than having your money work for the government. So that's just a little strategy there. Again, this is one of those things where get a side hustle because it's going to bring in extra income and it's going to allow you to write off some of those things on your taxes to lower your taxable income at the end of the year. But always check with a CPA first before you go into that to make sure that you're doing everything that's very right and specific for you legally. The next is getting your emergency fund vault to $1,000. Now, again, this is one of the vaults that I do have in my own SoFi account. I have my emergency vault. I have $25 every single paycheck goes into my emergency vault. The reason you want to do this before you really focus on paying down your debts, and of course you still want to pay down your debts, but when you get to that $1,000 in your emergency vault, and maybe you want more than that, it really depends on your own situation, but $1,000 can usually cover if your fridge ends up dying, if you have something else in your house that needs to get repaired, if your car ends up having a major issue. If it can't pay for the entire thing, at least it softens the blow quite a bit off of that. And then you're not forced to put it onto a credit card, which is going to whack you with maybe 25 to 30% interest. So having that money on the side is really nice to have because you're basically giving yourself a little bit of a free loan to be able to take care of those things and not have to worry about paying that interest in the long run. So yes, it's important to be paying off your debts, but make sure you have that just as a just in case to get yourself covered in those areas, to cover something like that, to prevent yourself from having to get into a situation where you've got to now put something on your credit card and then pay even more on that in the long run. Because if you're paying 25 to 30% interest on $1,000 and you can't pay that off right away, that's now hitting you with more and more money. And that $1,000 becomes $1,200 and $1,300 in the long run, which you definitely didn't have to begin with. Number 5 on the list is paying down high interest debt. Now, this is the one where it comes down to, hey, where are we looking at for the credit cards? What do we have for all these debts coming in? Credit cards are most likely going to be the number one source of your high interest debt. Then you're going to be possibly having student loans, which may not be as bad. Mortgage usually falls lowest because that's going to be a lower interest rate on it. So if you do have a mortgage, don't worry about that one quite yet. We're focusing on the high interest loans that you have out there. Typically, credit cards are going to be number one. There's an entire snowball strategy about that. That is something where if you want to work with me, even in our free session, I can talk with you guys about that. We'll discuss that really quickly as far as, what order should you be paying those off in, because there's a lot of factors that go into it. What is the interest rate on it? What's the minimum payment on it? What do you have for an actual total outstanding debt on it? Because if you have one that's maybe, 14% interest, but you only have $600 in there, just pay that one off quickly, get that off the plate, and then you can roll that money into another one. And so there's just a bunch of different strategies that have to go around that to be able to work on getting all of those credit cards and other debts paid off. So again, that's something that is the next focus on, because once that is done, and I got to tell you, once I paid off all of my debts, the world opened up, and all of a sudden I was able to take my portfolio from $600 in value to about $60,000 in 4 years, because I had so much extra money that I was able to put and invest into the stock market. And it's very important to do that. And I've diversified it in other places. I was also able to put money aside into treasuries, which then I cashed in, and I was able to buy a house. So your whole entire financial world can change significantly once you get these debts paid off, but you're going to have to make a lot of sacrifices along the way. It's going to suck. It's going to be painful. And I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm going to give you that tough love. I went through it for about 5 years of literally living like nothing. I am a very minimalist person right now because of that, because I realized how little I actually need to live. And now I can build that up. And there's a lot more to go along with that in the long run and what that means. But by living that way, I learned what I truly needed. I was able to get myself out of debt and the happiness level. And now all of that money is working for me rather than me paying all that extra interest. That interest is actually coming back to me rather than going out to someone else. So now my money is making me money. So this is going to be a huge one, but you're going to have to make the most sacrifices, and it's probably going to be the most challenging for a lot of people, but it's going to be the most worth it. Number 6 is going to be investing in a 401k, IRA, and stocks. And now this one here, some people argue, hey, should I start investing before I pay off all my debts? And it's really going to come down to what the return is going to be. Because if you are paying 25% interest on a lot of those credit cards, you're not going to be getting that return from any stocks or 401k. So it really doesn't matter. You're going to be losing money either way. But if you've got some debts out there that maybe you're, at 4 or 5%, then it's like, hey, you know what? I'm probably going to get a bigger return when it comes to my stock market, because you're on average going to get about 10% back every single year from the overall stock market. So, hey, maybe you're going to be splitting the difference there. You still want to pay those debts off, but you can invest into the stock market at that point, your 401k, your IRA. So that would just come down to timing. And again, this is something that I can discuss with you guys as to, when the right time is going to be when you can start investing into the IRA, into your 401k. And some people, just because you're working and if you have an employer contribution that goes into it, you might want to put into the 401k before you pay off all of the debts, just to take advantage of that money that your employer is going to be contributing as well. So again, these are just individualized conversations to have when we have our discussions. If you guys want to talk with me, or if you guys want to just decide it on your own, figure it out and you guys can work out the right plan there. But typically you're going to want to pay off all of your debts before you invest that money into the stock market. And again, let's say you're paying off, all your debts that combine maybe $2,000 every single month. Now all of a sudden that $2,000 can go into the stock market. And that speeds up the process significantly once all that debt is paid off. Number 7 is reassess those vault distributions. Now, again, this is something that I didn't do the first time around because I didn't have any vaults. But once you have all those debts that are paid off, now you have all this extra income coming in. All right, well, where do you want that money to now go? Do you want it to go to your stocks? Do you want it to go to an IRA? Do you want it to go to your travel vault? Do you want it to go to something else fun that you enjoy doing for a hobby or whatever it is? You have a lot more freedom because you've now hit that point with your money that, hey, your money is working for you. You no longer have those debts. You can go and live the way you want. So again, you've got to get through that debt payoff step first at number 5. But once that is done, hey, you've got the freedom to do what you want with your money. What do you want to do? Now you can go and live your life the way you wanted to, the way you perhaps had been before. That's what got you into debt. Now you've learned the habits you need to prevent yourself from getting into that debt. And you have that money that you can go out and live with at this point. So this is the fun part where you can reassess where you want that income to go into your different vaults, and then you can start having your money work for you and start enjoying your life the way you want. And then step 8, which is the same as Dave Ramsey's baby steps, which is give back and donate. You've got this money coming in. You've got enough money for you. You've got your money making you money. Now you're at a point where, hey, maybe you have some excess money. Go out. You can share that money with others. You could donate. You can contribute to different funds that you enjoy. Maybe you enjoy going to the library or to the dog kennel or whatever it is, and you want to be able to distribute some money out to them and really help out those causes that you love. You can go ahead and do that. Maybe you've got relatives in need. You can go help them out as well. This is the point where you can go and do that. And it's important to give back to the community. It's important to give back to the people that you love in your life, because it's going to help them get to the places where they can be happy as well. So that is step number 8. And once you've hit that point, that is where you're just living a life where you are truly happy and you can give back and just be genuinely carefree about everything in life because you have full financial freedom. So I hope these 8 steps helped you guys out. Again, if you would like some financial coaching along with all of this, and maybe have me help you on an individual basis, give you some ideas as to what you can do to help you get through all of these 8 steps, please feel free to reach out. I have my email in the profile of this channel, and I can certainly help you guys. We'll set up a time for you to be able to have this discussion. I'll give you the spreadsheet so you can start tracking all of your income and expenses to help you get on the right track to get you through all of these 8 steps. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.